He's the guy that made the most sense for Colorado a year ago.
It's that time of year again, the trade deadline frenzy. We're back at it. We have a number of different potential targets for the Colorado Avalanche. It's no secret. Everyone knows the Avs' big need is 2C, and the big name on the market is Adam Henrique from the Anaheim Ducks. He's a guy we talked about last year as a potential 2-year option. Now he's a UFA at the end of the year, a true rental. Is he the guy that makes the most sense for Colorado?
Yeah, he's the guy that made the most sense for Colorado a year ago. Yeah, no, he makes the most sense. His numbers are a little inflated at times for this year because at times he's been their 1C. He's also been on their top line as a left wing. Yep. But he's very versatile and has moved around quite a bit this season. So, but checks a lot of the boxes. He's a good enough skater to fit in with what the Avs want to do. He's still productive. He wins faceoffs. He plays on both special teams units. So really the question that you're asking is what can't he do? And he can't be better than he is, which I think is the big complaint there.
Deep.
Like, you know, like you're talking about, oh, go get a legit 2C. And what the word legit means to some people varies. And with Henrique, he's not going to make you think of Nazem Kadri in his walk year, the year that he had 87 points. Adam Henrique will not do that. He will not remind you of that player. But True. he's a quality person. He's a quality veteran. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's at the end of, nearing the end of his career, but he's still an effective player. There's no real commitment here with him being a UFA at the end of the season. For me, he checks all the basic boxes with the understanding that the ceiling is not very high.
Sure. He is what he is. A simple way to put it. 36 points in 55 games.
Love the production. I say at this stage in his career, but it's consistent. I think he had 20 goals last year as well, 22, something like that. The shooting percentage he's operating with this year, I don't know, is totally sustainable, but it is encouraging, and it is a bump in production that you can expect alongside the talent in Colorado. And he's been a big power play guy for Anaheim, and with those offensive weapons, for him to hang in that group, I think is notable, but also a big PK guy. Not that they're in desperate need for it, but it's always good to have a few more of those hanging around. And then the cultural fit, the work ethic, the motor. He's going to keep working throughout the course of a game. The speed might not wow you. That is the one concern for Henrique, but it would still be an improvement upon Ryan Johansson in that regard. And I really do like the work ethic.
I like the experience, you know what I mean? And he's not 40, you know what I mean? Like he's 34, and I'm not stabbing Parise. That's not what I'm saying, because Parise's been great. That's not what when I say that. What I'm saying is he's still got some gas left in the tank, you know what I mean? And I love his experience. He's been through some, on a bad team here in Anaheim the last couple of years, but he's also been on good teams in Jersey and been part of postseasons and disappointments. And so I think experience pays off in the playoffs. I think it's important to go get a person like that. I do believe he's the best fit out there on what's left on the UFA market. Trading for a guy with term left. Obviously, I call that a hockey trade. Not that this is not a hockey trade, but this is a rental type of deal. I would say part of the rental, he would be the best person left, I think, in all of our books. But he is a good fit. And like you said, he's either perfect Nazem Kadri, unusual gazillion points, number 2 center that year. No, that's not what you're getting. But you're getting somebody that's reliable, somebody that can impact the game at all levels, and that's got experience, is a good person, and would be a good fit in the Avs lineup and locker room.
I think one of the underrated aspects of Henrique is that playing for Greg Cronin this year, True. They have a very good, because you know what it's like at the deadline, certainly better than I do, that teams do their homework on who the player is as a person. You want to know, is he well liked by teammates? How does he take to coaching? How is he going to fit into our locker room? They've got Greg Cronin there as a guy that they could just call up and be like, Crow, what's up with this guy? And so I think if they were to make a move for him, Crow signs off on it. He rubber stamps Henrique as he's going to be a great fit for you. But also on the ice, how Cronin has coached the Ducks this year is similar enough to how the Avalanche want to play that they've gotten an idea of
a systemic look.
Exactly. How is this guy going to look playing what we want to do? And the results have been pretty solid.
Yep.
Now, they're a little muddled because he has played both wing. He's played a lot of wing and center this year. When you're going back and forth, it's hard to separate the two and say, well, they're driven by this or they're driven by that. It's a lot of both. So it's really hard to say, well, what's he going to look like solely as a center in Colorado? It's tough to say, but also you're putting him in a really good environment. You're putting him in an environment with what will likely be a Val Nichushkin and an Arturi Lehkonen, or a Jonathan Drouin or a Mikko Rantanen. Oh no,
good choices.
Those are the guys he's most likely to play alongside. That's a step up.
Yep.
And with the production he's already had this year, it's not unfair. Even if that definitely the shooting percentage is something that we say this on the day of recording, and then he'll score 0 goals, and by the time this posts, and the shooting percentage will be totally normal. But it is one where you say, okay, so he might be outproducing a little bit with some power play time in Anaheim, whatever, that he won't get here. That's fine. If he just keeps the same basic rate, but in a better situation with more even strength time, you're happy. Like, that's exactly what you're after. And as a guy that does play on the penalty kill quite a bit, but also wins faceoffs. You don't have a center right now. All of your best PK guys are wings. You don't have a guy that you trust on your penalty kill to win you a faceoff.
True.
Now, if they go and get a dedicated fourth line center at some point, I know we're going to talk about him eventually, in other videos, but he can give you that flexibility where maybe you don't need to go and get such a specific fourth line center, because he can do that job for you as long as he doesn't take the penalty. It's all good.
Just shy of $6 million on the cap hit here. We'll talk about this in most videos. The reality of the Avs situation at this deadline is for cap space. They very, very likely need to move on from Ryan Johansson. But you look beyond that with someone like Henrique. When you're talking about a cap hit that high, is it necessary for Colorado to chase cap retention on someone like Henrique?
Yeah, you got to have it.
Yeah.
You got to have it.
It's among the highest paid centermen on the list we'll be talking about. It's hard not to get some relief there.
It's math, right? I mean, you just have to. And sometimes it's just, if it's not with Anaheim, then it's with a broker on a different team, right? As we've seen a lot.
I don't care how you do it.
Exactly.
You have to do it.
No, but just to explain to people, like, it's not just, have Anaheim eat it. Maybe Anaheim can't eat it, but you can find a broker and
get it done that way. If they were to take Ryjo back in return for whatever else you're going to trade, that covers, and they eat half of Henrique's contract, that covers it. Yep. You're fine.
Totally. Yeah.
You feel good about that.
Yeah. So follow up naturally then, what is a realistic price for a situation of a retained Henrique? I know AJ has been beating the drum that he does not want to give up a first round pick for this level of player. Can the Avs make this work with a second plus whatever prospect it ends up being? Do the Avs need to pony up that first? Where do you feel the price is right for Henrique?
I'll go first. Like, is what I think is going to cost. I think it's going to end up costing a first round pick. I think they're going to get it. There's too many teams out there looking for it, and there's not a lot of options. I'm talking about in the UFA market. I do believe it's going to cost a first round pick. If I'm the Avs, would I do it? I would do it.
I think Anaheim knows what they have in Henrique too, just because this is a name that we floated last deadline for a reason. True. The fit was observable even then. And so for that reason, alongside the Lindholms and the Monahans coming off the board, it's just driven up that price that much more. And so I agree with Eric. I think at minimum, we're looking at a first.
I'm a lot more comfortable with giving up a first round pick if Ryan Johansson is attached to it, and then it's 2 birds with 1 stone.
Sure. Then
for me, I'm like, cool. I don't like the price for the caliber of player that I think he is, but you move on from the you don't have to worry about Ryan Johansson ever again. You're done with it. And then Henrique gives you whatever he gives you on this run, and you just move on. And for me, I'm like, okay, great. The draft will happen in June, and then next year's first round pick will be the most valuable one that you have. And,
move that in some other deal.
Exactly. Like you move, the world keeps spinning. So if it's the difference between getting an Adam Henrique or not and getting another guy on one of these other videos that we're going to do, for me, that's still tough. It's still tough. It's a tough sell. It's the difference between Henrique and Wenberg, for example, so large that I'll give up a first for one, but not the other. It depends on where Ryan Johansson fits into that for me, because I think being able to do both of those things at the same time is very, very valuable and brings the first round pick into play. If it's just for the player, I'm not giving up a first.
One last question I have on Henrique is, what is the most important part he brings to Colorado? Is it the second line center offensive ability, or is it the more well-rounded ability of he can PK, he can be whatever level of defensively effective you want to call him? Is that what the Avs are looking for? Which side of that? Do they need the offensive side more or the defensive side more?
It feels tough because my frame of reference right now is Ryan Johansson, and he has been a black hole for production. The defensive side has also not been great. And looking at the potential line mates for a Henrique, they're players who work hard and are pretty reliable on both sides of the puck. If it is a Lehkonen, if it is a Nichushkin, and knowing that Henrique kind of already has that in the bag, then where they really need the most room for improvement is production. I don't need it to jump off the page. It's as if anything he brings will still be an improvement from what Ryan Johansson brought, but they need more production from the second line. We're seeing the issues in relying on just the McKinnons and the Rantanens of the world for production, because when Rantanen's not going, when Makar's not going, they do need scoring from elsewhere. It's a huge need that's been revealed right now. And that's why I still want the offensive contributions to be sort of what he leans with, because I'm counting on the defensive contributions being a part of his game.
Here's what I'll say about him on last point. I look at him years back, Arturi Lehkonen, but as a center. And what I mean by that is his value to a team is very important in the sense of a Swiss Army knife. And come into playoffs when, I'll use the word shit happens. You got to be able to answer, to respond to injuries or lineups or whatever, like whatever it is that could be. That's a Swiss Army knife, and using Lehkonen because it's Avs fans to understand what he brings in. To answer your question, it's a little bit of everything, right? It's the experience, it's the offensive side of things, the defense, the smartness. He's a smart player, but Lehkonen's not a center. You know what I mean? Where this guy, think of him as Lehkonen as a center, so to speak, and has had a lot of value, high value back then. I told you guys we were talking about Ryan O'Reilly back then when he was holding out, and those were the comparables. Those were the guys that we were trying to go and get, to make trades with. So again, you're going to say that was 10 years ago. No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is he's that type of player. He's that type of smart player. I think he'd be a great fit here. And, I agree with you. I mean, it's what are you willing to swallow to make the trade happen,
From the emotional standpoint, too, he's another old guy with no cup. So you put him next to Zach Parise, and it's kind of like do it for these guys.
Win it for the skipper. Got
exactly. It. A little, a little emotional center to rally around.
And guess what? It's not always have to be the Ray Borks of the world, like Detroit. I mean, you talk to those guys. I don't remember what year, but Dallas Drake was a big part of that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's do it for Dallas Drake. You know what I mean? Like, it's an older guy.
The Avs won their last cup, and Andrew Cogliano was like the fourth guy to get to skate with it.
It does have an effect. It does.
Any final thoughts on Henrique? No? All right. We've got a ton more videos coming your way covering centers, defensemen, and goaltenders, including guys like Wenberg, guys like Jake Allen, and guys like Nick Seeler. So keep it locked to this playlist and figure out everything with the Avs Trade Deadline Frenzy.